what up? It is Raphael with the NBA Draft Junkies show here on the Nothing But Net channel on Dash Radio. And man, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving holiday. I know I did. I ate well. I ate so well that by 2 o'clock Thanksgiving Day, I was knocked out like Nate Robinson because I ate that much turkey. But overall, good weekend. I took a break. But on this episode, I want to finish up my draft grades. I know it's a little late because the draft was about a week and a half ago, but I wanted to finish up my draft grades. I did the Eastern Conference last week, so in this episode, I'll cover the teams in the Western Conference. I'll start off in the Northwest Division, so let's go first with the Denver Nuggets. At number 22, they selected Zeke Nnaji, a center from Arizona. I think that he'll come in. He should be able to replace Plumlee, who left in free agency to Detroit, which, if you saw last week's episode, you understand I did not understand why Detroit signed so many centers. But I think he should be able to compete for backup minutes at the 5. He averaged around 16 points, 8 rebounds per game on 57% shooting as a freshman. I think Denver does a good job of developing players, so this will be a good fit for him. Now, he doesn't bring that much on the defensive end, but I think he has the potential to be a floor spacer. I actually like this pick for Denver, and maybe they knew Plumlee was leaving in free agency. Maybe they have a plan to play Bol as the backup 5 or backup 4, but maybe he's going to see some rotation minutes. So overall, I thought this was a pretty good pick. At number 24, they selected R.J. Hampton. I thought RJ was going to go higher in this draft. I had him as a late lottery pick. At the lowest, I thought he would go 15 to Orlando. But overall, this is a steal for Denver. Great value pick. Like I said, he was a projected lottery pick on a lot of boards. He is an elite athlete with a lightning quick first step. He should be able to fit in good with Denver's fast-paced offense. He has a high upside as a switchy defender. I think he's a very underrated passer, especially with his speed. He should be able to get into the lane and create opportunities. I think he's a very good skip passer, but his development on the offensive end is directly related to how well he shoots the ball. But he'll join a super crowded backcourt in Denver with Jamal Murray, Monte Morris, Gary Harris, and now they got Campazzo from Real Madrid. If you haven't seen Campazzo play, man, he is an exciting playmaker. Him and Jokic together, man, they're going to be on a lot of highlights, and especially like the players like RJ and other guys that will be on the receiving end of some of those highlight reel passes. So Denver should be fun to watch. Don't forget they have Will Barton. He should be back. So Michael Malone will have his hands full dividing up the minutes. So overall for Denver, I'll give this draft grade a B-. Moving on to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They had the number 1 pick in the draft. Some may say they had the number 1 pick in the draft where nobody wanted the number 1 pick. And to me, it just came down to 3 players. It was either going to be Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, or LaMelo Ball. They went with Anthony Edwards. I thought he was the best positional fit as far as who they have on the roster, since they already have their cornerstones in Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. I just thought it made sense because taking Ball or Wiseman would have been a little bit redundant to the players that they already have on the roster who they're building around. So Edwards made the most sense for me. In my opinion, he has the highest upside in this 2020 class as far as his talent. There's some flashes of Dwayne Wade, Donovan Mitchell, maybe even a Victor Oladipo in this game. He's a 3-level scorer in college with some offensive creativity, and he has the potential to be a punishing slasher. He has great size for a wing. He's a high-level athlete with a strong 225-pound frame that should be able to score 20 points per game early in his career. One of the knocks I had on him was he did not get to the free throw line enough, even though if you look at the numbers, it says he went to the free throw line a significant amount of times, but I just felt like some games he went to the line a lot, and then there were games where he settled for too many jump shots and didn't go to the free throw line enough. But overall, man, this kid is crazy talented. Like I said, he's a tremendous scorer, and I think he should be able to score 20 points per game. The question is, are his points going to have an impact on wins and losses? Or is he going to be an empty calorie scorer where he puts up his 20 to 25 points per game, but he has 0 to a minimal impact on games? So only time will tell. But like I said, overall, I think it was the best positional fit for Minnesota over Ball and Wiseman. Now, the Wolves will just have to figure out a way to be good on defense with Cat, Russell, and Edwards. Is not known as a strong defender, but he does have all the physical tools to be a great defender. So That's up to the coach there to figure that out. But overall, I thought this was the best pick, and it just made the most sense. So Anthony Edwards at number 1 to Minnesota was just, to me, it was just the most obvious pick. At number 23, Minnesota selected Leandro Balmero, a wing from Argentina, but is currently playing in Spain. I love this pick. Although he may not come over for a season or two, I like what he brings to the table. He's currently playing for FC Barcelona, which is the best team in the EuroLeague right now. He's a big wing playmaker, and he's from Argentina. If you've seen Argentinian players play, they have this flash and flair where, the simple pass turns into like a highlight pass. So that's one of the things I like about him, not just because he's flashy, but he does have some substance in his game. He has good court vision, and he's actually a smart defender. The downside on him is his jumper. He needs to become a more consistent shooter, but I actually like this pick for Minnesota also. And with their last pick in the first round, they selected Jaden McDaniels, a freshman combo forward out of Washington. Now, this was a swing for the fences pick. He's an elite talent, 6'10", good fluid athlete that can handle. He can create his own shot, and he can defend. There's really not 10 to 15 guys in the world with his size and coordination and skill set. He can do a lot of things, but he does not have that one thing that I think he can hang his hat on. He needs to improve his feel for the game and his outside shooting. He really struggled with decision-making as a freshman, had 35 more turnovers than assists. But overall, man, this kid is a tremendous talent. He was a projected top 10 pick going into the draft around this time last year. The numbers his freshman year at Washington, they weren't bad, but they didn't help his stock. Just overall, I thought he was going to be at least a top 10 pick at the worst. But I think overall, talent for talent, skill for skill, he's definitely one of the top 5 most talented players in this draft, in my opinion. But for whatever reasons, I shouldn't say for whatever reasons, the production at Washington did not match the talent. But Minnesota really, really gambled on talent in this draft. And if they can hit on 2 of these 3 guys, then they have a really, really bright future. I like what they did here simply because the West is loaded, and the West is going to be tough for years to come. They already have their 2 guys, like I mentioned earlier, that are their cornerstone. So they swung for the fences. They gambled on the best talent. And I'm going to give their draft an A. But it could also be one of those drafts where you look back and it set their franchise back a few years because, for example, Balmero may not come over. McDaniels may not find a role or fit. And Edwards could end up being Deion Waiters. It's not necessarily a knock on Deion Waiters, but Waiters was, I believe, a top 5 pick. And his game is more so suited to be the number 1 option. I think he struggles when he's not the number 1 option or he's not featured. And so I could also see Edwards having that same problem. Again, it's not a knock on Deion, but if that's the case, then this wasn't a great draft for the Timberwolves. But overall, I'm going to give them an A as of now. All right, let's move on to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City is in, to be honest with you, this is like the process 2.0. It's just they're not really labeling that. But I wonder, is the NBA going to come down on Sam Presti like they did with Sam Hinkie? Because they're really like tanking. Not just tanking for a couple years. They're just tanking. All the decisions that they've made this offseason show that they are not looking to win now. I don't know. But at number 17, I thought they took a great gamble, and this was another swing for the fences pick. I thought if there were 2 guys that I was going to swing for the fences for outside of the lottery, it was Jaden McDaniels, who went number 28, and then Aleksej Pokusevski, the Serbian. I don't even know what position he plays. He's just a ball player. He's from Serbia, but he played in Greece for Olympiacos B. In my opinion, he's the biggest wild card in the draft. High upside due to his size, mobility, playmaking, and potential. He's a 7-footer with the passing instincts of a guard. In best case scenario, you have a playmaking floor spacer that can put the ball on the floor with the agility to defend multiple positions and protect the rim. I just said a handful there, or a mouthful, but I have some questions about his toughness and, of course, the level of competition that he's played against. I thought this was a great pick for Oklahoma City simply because they have the time to develop him, as they won't be competing anytime soon. And it's like they have like 16 or 17 first-round picks in the next 6 or 7 years, so they can gamble on the best long-term prospect. So I like the pick there. Another pick they had was Vic Krejci at number 37. If you've seen my videos, I did a video on him recently. I think he's a good prospect. Point guard, combo guard from the Czech Republic. He played in Spain. Unfortunately, he's out for the year with a torn ACL, so the earliest we will be able to see him is next year. But he's a big guard at 6'7", a confident player, plays with a lot of just confidence and swagger. He can create his own shot for himself and for others. He loves to attack the basket. He's really aggressive, plays with a lot of energy. Again, he's a young guy that needs to improve as a shooter, but he's also a high-risk, high-reward passer. But he does have some experience against high-level players, which is something that I can't say the same for Pokusevski. For Oklahoma City Thunder, I'm giving them an A just because they swung for the fences, and they're not in a hurry to win now. I think that Pokusevski looks like he's going to be here and he's going to play or stay in the States this season. So I don't know if they're going to actually throw him to the Wolves early, like I had mentioned on previous podcasts, or they may just develop him with Oklahoma City Blue. Again, there's no rush, there's no pressure, so I like this. I'm going to give the Oklahoma City Thunder an A. All right, next up, it is my Portland Trailblazers, and at number 46, they drafted C.J. Ellaby, a sophomore wing from Washington State. I did not think Ellaby would get drafted. But then again, I see why he got drafted. I mean, he feels the need for Portland. The Blazers were short on wings last year due to the injury of Rodney Hood. And he feels the need for wing depth and outside shooting. I thought Gary Trent did a great job in the bubble. And now with Ellaby, it gives them a little bit more depth, something that they lacked. Ellaby shot 41% from three as a freshman, but he dropped down to around 34% as a sophomore. So I believe in his upside as a shooter, but he is an excellent wing rebounder. He averaged over 7 rebounds per game, has both seasons at Washington State. I thought this was a good pick for Portland, so I'll give them a B. All right, next up, it is the Utah Jazz, and Utah had a very interesting pick at 27. They selected Udoka Azubuike, the senior center from Kansas. I don't really get this pick, especially since they brought Derek Favors back, who I think will be the backup 5. So that means they spent a first-round pick on a guy that is going to be their third center. But overall, Azubuike is a massive physical presence at 7 foot 270, one of the most efficient scorers in NCAA history. Like, dude just didn't miss. He shot over 74% from the field in his 4 years at Kansas. Not for a season, not 74% from the free throw line, 74% from the field in his 4 years at Kansas. He averaged over 2.5 blocks per game as a senior. But the question is, can he defend in space? And the way today's NBA is going, that's going to be the main thing. He may end up having a role similar to like what Boban plays. And, you know, Boban has kind of bounced around from team to team. But in certain matchups, he's tough to defend. But then they also kind of run him off the floor. So overall, Azubuike to the Jazz, this is a questionable fit. I'm going to give them a D. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me, especially that he's older. I could see if he were a freshman, he were 18 or 19 years old, and they were planning on developing him long-term. But to select a senior in the first round for him to be your third center just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I'm going to give the Jazz a D. Sorry, Jazz fans. And also at number 39, they selected Elijah Hughes, a junior out of Syracuse. Hughes actually reminds me of like the type of guards and wings that every team coveted in the 90s and 2000s. You wanted like this 6'5" or 6'6" guard that could score, that may not have been an efficient scorer. And that's kind of what he reminds me of. But he averaged 19 points, 3 assists per game as a junior at Syracuse. I think he's more of a scorer and a bucket getter than a shooter. But he averaged over 5 free throw attempts per game. He should provide some wing depth behind Joe Ingles, and Royce White. He'll need to become more of a consistent spot-up shooter, but he could be a steal if he can defend and knock down open shots. So I'm going to give the Utah Jazz a D.